What's up, everybody? It's Monday. We're a couple technical difficulties, but no worries there. We're back with Kelly and myself. We are on the last division of the NFC. It's the NFC West. Kelly, how are we feeling today?
Feeling good. You said it was Monday, and I didn't even realize it. It has been kind of a crazy week for me. Really trying to get buckled down and make sure we can find you guys some winners in this last couple of weeks. Interesting line move, Megan. I got a text that Jets money line was the play. Preseason football, I laid minus 135. I already feel disgusting about it. I think that number's probably long gone at the Barstool Sportsbook, but I wanted to share that with you guys, as well as any other little tidbits I have for Money Shots viewers only. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us each and every week.
Absolutely. And on that note, there is still a baseball season going on, even though we've been talking about football now for the last 2 weeks. Don't forget, it is Monday, so head on over to the Barstool Sportsbook. Opt in. Money making Mondays. The last 2 weeks has been embarrassing, to say the least.
Oh
So
no.
this week we are going to get some good juju going. I'm due. Actually going to the Astros game tomorrow, so I will be in Houston to watch my Astros play tomorrow. I'm so excited. I've not been back to Minute Maid in a minute, so I'm absolutely psyched. I'm gonna get through these, and we're gonna find some great bets for the people out there who do watch Money Shots. Also, don't forget we have our Brian Kelly teas. Go get your gritty tea. It's about gritty season. Boom, bang, bop. Also, I have a new shirt coming for Astros fans. I'm obsessed with it and I'm really excited about it, but I'm going to wait to show it to you. All right, up
Are you
first.
done thinking your team's going to win the World Series? Because it's like all the Mets fans in the office think they're going to win the World Series. We don't have Chris here to toot your little horn for the Astros.
Look,
I look like Yankees are bust a couple weeks ago, and now we're
yeah,
seeing some
now
really big pushes here at mid-August.
the Yankees rotation isn't going to get it done. I'll just say right there. We're getting two key arms back here soon. So see Astros World Series to lose. And I'm going to continue to say that with um, my chest, my whole chest. Let's start with the Rams plus 125 last time I checked to win the NFC West. Win total is sitting at 10.5 even over at the Barstool Sportsbook. And they are the rightful favorites as they are the Super Bowl champs of last year. You have OBJ coming back from an ACL tear during the Super Bowl. You have Cooper Cup, speaking of tear, who should still be on one. They haven't really made too many moves from this Super Bowl team. And in my opinion, they're trying to set up and win back to back, which, do I think it's possible? Sure. But I'm not loving the odds there, and I'm not necessarily loving the Rams. We've talked about this Super Bowl hangover and how much it truly can affect some of these teams. And when I look at the schedule, I can see 10.5 wins. I like the over 10.5 wins, but as far as repeating a Super Bowl, I'm not quite sure. While we're on that topic, I also was looking at Cooper Cup's receiving yards. He was at like almost 2,000 receiving yards last season.
Do you want to know why? Because the previous season I drafted him, and he had such a terrible bust year that, of course, the next season I'm like, I want nothing to do with Cooper Cup. He goes absolutely ham. That's how this works, Megan. As I said before, if you want me to jinx a team, just tell me to draft their players. I got you. It's perfect.
Well, you can draft Cooper Cup this year because I truly think that the books might be overvaluing him a little bit with his receiving yards. He's at 1325 and a half. And as you said last year, he had an insane season, almost 2,000 receiving yards. He didn't even sniff that in the last like 6 years. So I think he's just overpriced a bit. And for this to be a year-long prop and we have to depend on Cooper not getting hurt or Stafford not getting hurt, I think it might be worth a look at the under 1325.5 for Cooper Cup. But those are what I'm playing here. I like the over 10.5. As I said, I think the Rams are a 12-win team. I like Cooper Cup's under 1325.5. And I don't like them to win the Super Bowl, essentially. If they do, congratulations. Y'all are set up for it. But I actually kind of like the 49ers to win the division more than the Rams this season. But I want to hear your take on the Rams.
That's interesting, Megan. I don't know how I feel about this Niners team just yet. While I like Trey Lance, we'll get into them here in a minute. Back to the Rams. Do I think they can repeat a Super Bowl? Do I think they should have even been in the Super Bowl last year? That's kind of up for debate as well. This was a team that I didn't think Matthew Stafford was going to make an immediate impact. Is that up for debate? Probably not. He probably did make an immediate impact over Jared Goff. But really, what wins championships? And that is that defense. Aaron Donald back in full force, but he's missing my guy Von Miller, who's now with the Bills, amongst a couple other guys. As you mentioned, Odell Beckham Jr. coming off that ACL tear is going to be interesting. No Robert Woods. So going back to your Cooper Cup thing, do I think it's a little bit inflated? Absolutely. I'm not going to argue with you there. I just have to wonder wide receiver one, wide receiver two, there is no really third guy there that's in the mix. I mean, I know technically on the depth chart, but I'm a little weary about taking that under. And that's not because my teammates want to draft Cooper Cup, because I am going to fight really hard to get Justin Jefferson, but that's beside the point. 10.5 wins. I think this team can win 13 games in theory. I have them favored in
How about
13 games. I
12?
only have them in
We're paddling the same canoe.
I have them in, as an underdog in one game. And that's where Sean McVay comes into play. I think he's a really great coach. We know that he does have a new offensive coordinator this season, which is going to be really interesting. But Raheem Morris is back. And as I mentioned with that defense, that is the key for this Rams team. That is how they're going to win games they maybe are in close battles with, as we saw last year in the Super Bowl with the Bengals. Bengals had them on the ropes, and that defense came in clutch when they needed to get them to win that game. Same thing in the Tampa Bay game in the week prior. So, sorry, 2 weeks prior, technically. But that being said, I'll lean towards the over 10.5 wins with you. I do not think this team is going to repeat. And I'm sorry for what I said about Matthew Stafford not making an immediate impact. I do think that maybe we see a little bit of regression this year, because we saw a different Matthew Stafford than we saw with the Lions. And usually, when you have a new offensive coordinator, it takes you a little bit of time to gel, if you will. And I think we might see a little bit of fallback from that. But the Super Bowl winner usually does pretty well. The Super Bowl losers, the ones that really get that hangover the next season. So I could see the Rams making the playoffs again, going over 10.5 wins and winning the NFC West. Am I going to lay the juice to do so? Absolutely not.
All right, let's move on to the 49ers because I think this team is extremely interesting this year. I'm sorry, what?
Uh, my mom is here to pick up my dog, and my dog is just sitting here snoring, and I hear her talking, so I keep muting myself, and I'm like, "Are you coming to get her so I can finish my show?" Don't
Hey,
know what the fuck's
mom.
happening.
It's okay.
Everybody says hi, mom.
That's
and
what
Coco
moms
and
do.
Coco is looking like, "What are you doing?" I'm taking a nap. This
Well,
is
that's what,
this is the beauty of getting to work from home, everybody. This is why I love Barstool Sports.
and that's why we love our moms because they always come in at the best times. This 49ers team, though, they, I feel like, have been putting the pieces together. I mean, they essentially pissed away a Super Bowl last year in the second half. Did they deserve to be there? Probably not, but that's what Shanahan does with these teams.
That
Shanahan,
really hurt me. I had the Niners plus 3.5. I got the cover. I was at Barstool River North with all of the guys that participated in my college football overs. I just would like to not relive that. The end.
well, just for a moment, we'll have to relive it because I feel like this team. I mean, this is a little whatever. They have to have a chip on their shoulder, right? Like they were so bad in the beginning of the season. All of a sudden, they started to gel, if you will. Everything was looking their way, and then essentially they fucking dropped the ball. But, they still have Debo and Kittle and Elijah Mitchell, and those are just naming superstars. You have Bosa and Armstead. They needed a corner. They drafted one, and then they went out, or they think they drafted two, and then went out and got one, which that was like the biggest hole in their defense. And again, I think that this team is going to be, and this is a very hello booger moment, but it's going to be if Trey Lance is good, this 49ers team is going to be good. If Trey Lance is not good, I think this 49ers team is going to be extremely fucking frustrating. And I'm talking like you think that you have them figured out, and then all of a sudden, Trey Lance comes out and is fucking throwing dimes. And then they're gonna get overvalued the next week, and then you're gonna go bet them because you're gonna be like, oh, okay, this team's starting to get there. No. But if Trey Lance is good, I say this team rolls. Why not? What do you think?
I don't like this at all. I'm going to be honest with you. As a Jimmy G fanatic, no, that's all jokes aside. He's just really hot. Uh, I don't know how I feel about Trey Lance. Did Trey Lance show me very much last year? No, of course not. Because Jimmy Garoppolo was a starting quarterback. I don't know why you have Jimmy Garoppolo over in your roster if you're not going to have him as your starting quarterback. Not only is it demoralizing, not only does it fuck up the whole vibe of the locker room, you now lost your leader. We could argue maybe Jimmy isn't the guy there, but let me tell you, Jimmy, great as an underdog. Great. Great against the spread after week 8. This is actually from my buddy Warren Sharp's magazine. And I thought this was really a crazy stat, Megan. From week 8 forward, Jimmy G was second in the NFL in dropbacks. And that is better than every quarterback that was still in the playoffs. That is Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, and Joe Burrow. As you mentioned, they went into Green Bay and just absolutely stifled that offense. I don't know what Kyle Shanahan's doing here. And that's where I feel like I could make a case. I could say, you know what? Trey Lance, he's going to have the support. He's going to be better than Jimmy G based on a couple of little factors. I just haven't seen it with my own eyes. Does that make sense? For me,
Absolutely.
for me, I need quarterbacks to be able to pass the eye test. And I think going back to Stafford, that was kind of my problem with him prior. He was a great fantasy quarterback. Don't get me wrong, he had tons of stats.
But
He just
watching
couldn't,
him play for the Lions didn't show us anything.
and he didn't. And then all of a sudden, here he is with the Rams. Now, granted, we can give some of that to Sean McVay. We can blame it on whoever, but I am still to the point of trying to guess why people, and maybe even Shanahan, hate Garoppolo. I understand that they just think that he's an average quarterback, but he did have that thumb injury. And as I'm saying, the data says otherwise. We're going
Well,
to see what ends up happening here. Like I said, the Packers game just resonates really well in my mind. And unfortunately, for Packers fans, that Niners team, I didn't think was a better team. And they went into Green Bay in freezing cold weather and showed me a lot. I think that showed a lot of grit since it is grit week from Jimmy G. I think it showed that they can get the running game going and give him time. He's going to be a playmaker. But if it's Trey Lance, I think I just have to take a complete and utter pass on this team. I think it's too much of a wild card for me to bet a season long prop bet one way or the other. As you mentioned, it could go one way or the other. We could see Trey Lance come out like we've seen videos at practice and just impress the hell out of everybody. But as underdogs, the Niners have been money. And that was with Jimmy G. And I'm just going to leave that alone for right now. It's going to be a hard pass. Do I think that Trey Lance has the athletic ability to win the NFC West? Yes. I said this last year on video that I thought the NFC West was the hardest to handicap. Now it's a little bit easier because Russell Wilson is no longer playing for the Seahawks. We'll go along to the Cardinals because I think this Cardinals team has an ability to continue to leap forward, even if Kyler Murray doesn't have to have extra study time.
real quick before we move on to the Cardinals, if Trey Lance is the starter, and he's projected to be, I think he's going to need a trusty veteran to put their hands on the ball. And that trusty veteran is going to be George Kittle. I like his over receiving 850 and a half at plus 100. So you're getting plus 100 on George Kittle over receiving. I think either way, that's a safe bet, whether it's with Jimmy G or with Trey, unless, knock on wood, George Kittle gets hurt, then, maybe not so doable. Whatever.
Yeah, George Kittle is an absolute stud. We know this. It's being able to block the way that he does and be able to be almost receiver like in that big body. I think you're right. He's going to be a really good security blanket for whoever ends up being the starting quarterback for Kyle Shanahan. Week 1, I know he had already announced Trey Lance, but lots of things happen in the next month between the first game kicking off. So we'll see how it plays out, Megan.
I'm bumping up our feed right now. Um, I said this is little. Over. Sorry about this. 850 and a half. All right. So up next we have the Cards, and I'm gonna be honest. I heard you say that you're excited about this team. You think that they're gonna leap forward. I'm not as excited for this team. I'm not excited for Kyler Murray, and you would think that like a Kyler Murray, Cliff Kingsbury duo would just make huge waves. And it's just like, have they? Also, the Cardinals have an insanely tough schedule. They have to start at home against Kansas City, then Vegas on the road, then the Rams at home. I mean, I'm looking at maybe an 0-3 start for the Cardinals. Um, I personally am not high on this team this year. I'm not excited about this team this year, although I mean they have exciting pieces. I mean, they have, Rondell Moore, they have Hollywood Brown. I mean, there are pieces, as I said, that are exciting, but I need to see this team play one game before I make any opinion about them because I don't know. This sounds whatever, but like Kyler just seems off, and
Pressured. He seems pressured
yeah, and I'm
for
just
for
I'm not,
a for
I'm
a
not,
magnitude of reasons.
I'm not here for it.
I get it. I get it. And you know what? He was pressured more than almost every single quarterback in the league. He wasn't 100% healthy. We knew this. Last year they started off so hot, Megan. They started off 7-0 and then things kind of started to derail. Now you throw in DeAndre Hopkins with his suspension and we're going to
How long is he
lose.
suspended for?
I believe it's just 6 games. I will double check that right now. But he is he really is a big piece of this offense. And that, yeah, it is 6 games. I wanted to double check that, but it is. He is a big part of this offense, and that does concern me. He got over 21% of the targets last year. That's a lot. That's a lot. And with him being gone for 6 weeks, as you mentioned, that first game against the Chiefs, this team is going to be underdogs in at least 10 games. Their schedule is loaded. I have them favored in 6 games, Megan. And in those 6 games, they're barely a 1.5 point favorite. That tells you they're not even, so even the game that they are favored in, they're not a big favorite, right? They might be a decent favorite at home to Seattle. They may be a decent favorite. Um, eh, looking at home to the Eagles. Outside of that, there's a couple of road games that might nab them. That might be the Panthers. Obviously, you and I spoke about the Falcons last week, and we're not expecting a lot from them, but we know the Falcons tend to mess around and win some games from time to time
Yep,
and really upset some of those confidence pools, things of that nature. This is a Cardinals team that the bookmaker set at 9 wins.
I like the under. I'm like looking at 7, maybe 8.
I I just think that they have the ability there because they have James Conner to be able to break up some of that Kyler Murray
Run
pressure,
around.
if you will, and him being able to help block should be somewhat good. But we're gonna see here. I really don't love this Cardinals team one way or another. As I mentioned, it was last year that I thought they were really top heavy and stacked with these 3 teams. I just don't see them being better than they were last year, and especially given that their number one receiver is suspended, given that there's been some drama with Kyler Murray and his contract saying that he feels a certain way. JJ Watt kind of came back from the dead last year. Buda Baker, one of my favorite defensive players. I do think this defense is going to be fairly solid, even though I am not a Vance Joseph fan. Yes, you guys remember he was the head coach of the Denver Broncos, and he really upset me on a lot of occasions. But he is a great defensive coordinator, and I do expect this defense to be able to help them win a couple games they might have not won if Kyler can get just a little bit more time. And that's kind of my hang up here with this division. And it seems like every year there's a division or two that I just can't get a good read on. And this one for the second year in a row.
Well, let's get to a team that I feel like we can both have a good read on, and that's the last team
Oh,
plus 1,600 to win the division. That's the Seattle Seahawks. Looks like they are in rebuild mode. Getting rid of Russell Wilson to throw in Drew Lock, old swaggy Drew Lock. Is he going to do anything? I don't know. I looked through this schedule and I have a maybe 3 wins. If Drew Lock goes down, who do you have? Geno Smith?
I
Gino.
can't believe Gino's not the starter. I'll be really honest with you.
Well, that's
Gino
what that should tell you all you need to know. If Gino's not
Gino
starting,
filled in a little bit last year, Megan, don't forget, and he wasn't horrible.
well,
That's the problem.
I think the Seahawks are gonna be fucking terrible this year. I think they're going to be dog shit terrible. I think Pete Carroll should have went out 2 years ago on a high note when he had Mr. Unlimited. No shade to Pete Carroll. I think he's a good coach, but there is nothing on this team that I have that poor DK Metcalf. You know
I
what
was
I mean?
gonna say, you've got Tyler Lockett in the
And
slot, you've
DK,
got DK Metcalf.
but
It's not all bad. Plus, you have Noah Fant from the Broncos, and he and Drew already have a little bit of a relationship.
But is Drew a smart quarterback? Is Gino a smart? Are either one of those people going to be able to drop back and make a intelligent decision to throw the ball to DK in route or to throw it to Luck?
Okay, I know that last year is a different scenario because Russell Wilson was there. But last year, this defense was so bad. Do you remember? Even my boy Kirk Cousins went into Seattle and squeaked out a win because the defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. So the good
Awful.
news is they have a new defensive coordinator. Okay, that's a positive
That
news.
could take a second to gel, right?
I would somewhat agree with that. They have a almost a whole new defensive line. Almost everybody on that line is brand new. They have a rookie, 4
Rebuild,
guys from other
rebuild,
teams,
rebuild,
and they needed to.
rebuild.
And they needed to. They needed to. That defense was absolutely just disgusting. Now, as far as playing, well, I'll play a little devil's advocate here with you because I know that you're like, I don't see this team winning 3 games. And while
I said,
if Drew Lock takes this team over the season win total, my God,
I'll eat crow on that, no problem. If Drew Lock can get this team to 6 wins, Drew Lock, I will. I'll do.
this is the thing.
Walk
He's
out.
got dual threats. He didn't really have that in Denver. Again, he's already got DK Metcalf. We know Tyler Lockett, and he has a relationship with Noah Fant, which is the good news. I am not saying anything great about Drew Lock. Trust me, I screamed from the mountaintops last year at about how horrible he was, and nobody listened to me until they saw it with their own eyes. I do think if this defense can be just a little bit better. Remember, they went 0-5 in close games last year. Typically, those teams, now again, no Russell Wilson, typically those teams either cover more games the next year or win more games the next year. So a little bit better defense. Jason Myers and Mason Crosby were two of the banes of my existence when I betted on their teams last year because they were so bad at kicking field goals. If we can get a good, solid field goal kicker out of Jason Myers, which we've seen him be able to do in the past, the defense can be a little bit better, and Pete Carroll can make Drew Lock suck just a little bit less than he did in Denver. I do think that there could be a case to say this team can win 6 games. And that is what bookmakers, I think, are baiting us into, right? Absolutely not. There's no way this team's going to win 6 games. No way, no how. They're only favored in 5 in my book. Only favored in 5. I'm going to be the contrarian here. I'm not going to go run to the window and bet this, but Megan, I would not be shocked to see this team win 6 games. And everybody holding an under ticket is just absolutely livid that they won 2 or 3 games they shouldn't have.
Well, I might be that livid person, but I just don't see it this year for Seattle. Maybe next year. Maybe, that line needs an entire year together to really be able to protect a quarterback, and maybe they'll get a real quarterback next year, which that's what I would assume they would be doing,
Yeah,
right?
I think this is Pete's year. Like, prove that you can do more with less, and we'll keep you on. Man,
Maybe. I'm not willing to be backing this Seahawks team. Not willing to back the Cardinals. I'm keeping my eye on the 49ers and the Rams. The other two can kind of kick rocks, and that's respectfully. But I just think it's a rebuilding year for the Seahawks, and then the Cardinals. I just think that they're just there's too much star power
one
happening.
last thing I actually wanted to take
Yes,
for you, Megan. I was just looking at strength of schedule really quick. They actually have a top 10 hardest strength of schedule as
the
well.
Seahawks.
So, yeah, looking at that, that does not help my contrarian over case. like I said, I was just trying to be nice to Seahawks fans. I mean, they got a long year ahead of them. It's going to be rough. I'm a big Tyler Lockett fan. I would love to see him thrive, but I even already told my guys, I was like, I don't want to draft DK Metcalf, even if I can get him, you know, cheap, late second round. If you don't have a quarterback, what are you going to do?
If you have two quarterbacks, you have none. If you have Drew Lock, you also have none. That's that's what I
You
get.
have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks, which is something I always say. If you have Drew Lock, you have none too. So sucks to suck. We're
No.
sorry, Seattle. It's going to be a really long year for you guys. Even if you do somehow squeak out 6 wins, Godspeed. Probably time to rewrite the ship and tell Pete Carroll to ride off in the sunset.
I would agree with that. All right, guys, that was Monday's edition. As I said, I am off to Houston, so if you guys will be at the Astros game tomorrow, hit me up, let me know. I would love to come say hello. But we will be back Thursday, and we'll be going over the AFC. It's time to move into the AFC, and then after we go through the AFC, we'll get into college, and then after college, guess what? Football will be here, baby. No more waiting around for props, for season long props. We can actually make real bets on real games that we can watch in real time and obviously do that over at the
Anything's got to be better than chicken chip bingo, Megan. I cannot
anything.
believe I went 0 for yesterday. It cost me $39. What a loser,
And
man.
really quick before we leave, all of your money, all of what you're doing needs to go into a certain place. Where is that certain place, you ask? Well, it's Skrill. Skrill is the best digital wallet for gamblers because it was built for gamblers. Sophisticated gamblers like yourself and myself use it to manage our bankrolls, whether we're playing online games like poker or betting sports, which you should do today over at the Barstool Sportsbook. Opt in. Money Making Mondays parlay. You can manage your bankroll using the e-wallet, which allows you to pay instantly and securely. It's payments without limits, basically. You can access your bankroll with instant deposits and withdrawals, and also draw the cash using your prepaid card. Let's just say Skrill is the best digital wallet for sports bettors, so it's kind of a no-brainer. Go create your free account right now over at skrill.com/barstool, and once you create that free account, complete the account verification by clicking follow the game after you register. So boom, that's where you should be putting your money. Skrill.com/barstool. It is the best wallet for sports bettors and for gamblers. You can just do everything there. So we'll see you guys on Thursday. AFC West, AFC no South, AFC North, whatever.
AFC South.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll see you guys Thursday, and I'll see you. Anyone else in Houston?